Welcome back to Ina Bear Farm. It's a gorgeous day in February. We'd start with a shot of all of our nice new growth on our longan plant. This is the BOQ variety. We're excited to see it just sat for a long time and finally shot out a whole bunch of new growth. All that new growth, probably 2 weeks worth. That's pretty amazing. Today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about water management, water features here in our conversion of this pasture to food forest. So we're in a little bit of a unique spot here, big island of Hawaii. We're on the windward side, rainy side. We're in a drier spot for the rainy side, about 1,100 feet elevation. As you can see, if you haven't seen any of our videos before, we have a nice overlook of the ocean. And our soil here is very porous, it drains really well. And so the usage of berms is really not going to, swales and berms is really not going to hold a lot of water for very long, because the water doesn't run on the surface here hardly at all. So I've stopped here because you can see where I've cut the path and it makes a rather sharp turn there. So this is a contour path that I've used with a homemade A-frame level. And one thing that's great about that is that not only gives you nice flat paths, but it can help with erosion. But the little hidden benefit is that it shows you the contours of the land really well. And so you can see with that sharp turn that that's a place where we have a dip, or kind of the birth of a new gulch perhaps. And so there's a few things we want to do even here where the water doesn't run on the surface much to just sort of guard against a whole bunch of erosion going down the middle of that low spot. One of which is to have these contoured paths with a slight berm on the downside to build up vegetative and woody material on the down slope of that, to just keep the water from running even more. Now, I've seen 30 inches of rain fall here in 5 days, which is more rain than most cities in the US get in a year. I think the average rainfall slipped around 26, 27 inches. So that's a lot of rain for 5 days, and there was not a drop of standing water out here anywhere. I didn't see any signs of erosion, any running water, any kind. The soil just swallows the water up. So one thing from a management standpoint that's important with that is that our plants are going to need heavy mulch. We also obviously have strong tropical sun, and we're low on woody material, being that this is a pasture, but we have a lot of this guinea grass. So one thing that we've talked about in past videos is using what we have. Here we have a little Rollinia sapling, and down here got some of our guinea grass. Now this is a very thin layer before we get down to soil. And so actually later today, what we'll be doing is chopping some of this fresh green grass that's around it in a nice circle. And then we'll tuck that up under the older straw grass there and then pile it pretty deep, about 1 foot deep, to really insulate the tree from the sun, get the soil nice and cool, help it to hold moisture longer, keep that damp layer in there, which will benefit microorganisms, all that. So over time, our strategy here will be to build shade. And so we've got things like bananas. As you can see, my neighbor brought me some more keiki. That's the Hawaiian local phrase for the pups, which a lot of people call them, little baby bananas. So we'll be building some biomass, building some shade with some bananas around. I've also planted leukemia in several areas. So I just planted from seed. Here's an example of a little, very tiny leukemia hiding in the straw there. We'll let those get up, provide a little shade. And then when we're ready to open it up, we'll do a little chop and drop. And of course, our fruit trees will eventually provide their own shade. We've got our fruit trees spaced out at about 20 feet. So here's that Rolliniia we were at, just up the hill. Got an avocado there, about 20 feet away. Triangulated to try to let the sun in from all the different angles. And then as they fill in a little bit more, we'll come back and put in some understory plants of coffee and cocoa and turmeric, ginger. Some of that we've got planted here and there, but I have some larger, quick growing shade trees in around the property, some monkey pod, ice cream bean, things like that. But here, as is the case in a lot of the tropics, you're going to store a lot of your water in the plants themselves. So that's a big piece of our water management strategy. We also plan on building a cistern to catch the water from our roof, and then using that to water our garden and our future food forest out here. It's 4 acres, so it's a little too much to put in like a drip system. We'll have to just kind of figure out a useful or creative way of getting water out here. Right now during dry spells, I'm just literally carrying buckets, which is a great workout, but you know, as I get a little older, I think that will get very old. But the last thing I wanted to talk about today was water features. And so right here, where we looked at this bend in the path, we have that low crevice spot. And so what I'd like to do is bring a dam sort of structure across where my finger is here and extend that path straight across and give the illusion of a bridge. In reality, it's more like a dam. Because the soil drains so well here and we don't have access to compactable silt or clay or anything like that here, I'm thinking I'm just going to put it in an EPDM liner like we had at our old farm, Elder Bear Farm in Maryland. And we'll throw some mosquito fish in there, or some goldfish or something to eat any mosquito larvae. And so we'll have this upper area as its own little pond. And then we've got a nice little drop, so we'll install a little waterfall feature. And then down here we'll put a larger pond with another EPDM liner to just hold a decent amount of water. And then we'll try to have some bigger shade trees all around to keep the water from evaporating really quickly. And we'll run a filter and a pump. I'm hoping to do a solar pump. Just pump the water right back up to the original source and allow it to trickle out from the top as though it was like a natural spring coming out of some rocks or something like that. And then at the bottom, we'll have an overflow as well as the capability to pump the water out further down the hill and then be clearing all this grass. And I'd like to pump it into a system of semi-swales. We're hoping to grow a bunch of callo or taro down there, which is a really water-loving plant. And then we'll also have the ability to pump the fish waste into that system as fertilizer. And so on occasion, obviously anytime it overflows, we'll get it in the system, but then on occasion I may just go in and pump a good portion of the water out. You know, take the fish out for a minute, pump the water out, and fill it back up with cistern caught rainwater. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. May be a while before we actually start on this project, but I thought it might be interesting to just kind of talk about some of the ways we're thinking about water on the property. It's quite different than what I anticipated. I really anticipated having to catch a lot of water in a berm swale type of system because it is a pretty good slope. It's maybe a little hard to tell from the video, but I'd be willing to guess that from the top of our property to the bottom, which is about, I'd say maybe 200 yards, something like that. Probably gain about 100 feet in elevation. So it's a decent slope, and it's actually hard to see the bottom because it really it drops after that little hill back there. Speaking of that hill, we also have a gulch running down on the inside here that could feed this wetter system kind of towards the center down there. So the pond would be partly habitat encouraging, bring in frogs, lizards, birds, give our farm cats somewhere to just have some drinking water, and partly for enjoyment, the aesthetic of it. And then lastly, just a little bit of water catchment so that we can pump it into that hollow system, and benefit from the fertilizer from that. But that's sort of like an externality, a positive benefit from having a nice, enjoyable little waterfall feature. That's really about it in terms of our water management at the moment. Like I said, building biomass, storing the water in trees, deep mulches using what we have, which is the skinny grass. We do have a little bit of woody material around, so I'll be doing some chop and drop of that type of stuff. And then when the fast-growing legume trees like the leucaena and stuff get a little bigger, we'll be able to chop and drop that woody material as well. So, hope this was interesting. If you have any questions or comments, just throw them in the comments section, or suggestions. Always love to see that. I've definitely gotten some really helpful suggestions along the way here, so I always appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day if you're back on the mainland. Hang in there, a few more weeks for spring. All right, we'll see you next time here at Ina Bear Farm. Aloha.